This is ITV News at 10 with Julie Etchingham.
Good evening. In the migrant crisis stretching back nearly 5 years now, which rocked the politics of so many EU countries, it has often become too easy to think of those making the journeys in terms of statistics. But tonight we have powerful personal accounts of the harrowing ordeals endured by people trying to seek sanctuary in Europe. Many of those making this journey are young women. We've spoken to two sisters from Nigeria. Desperate to get to Europe, they were easy prey for ruthless traffickers, forcing them into a cycle of violence and abuse. Well, thousands of young Nigerian women, often from the poor Edo state in the south, are trafficked. They're first taken through neighbouring Niger and further north into Libya. From there, some make it as far as Italy and beyond. But for many of them, like the two sisters we met, Libya is where their journey ends, and with it, their last shred of hope.
It's one thing to read about the unrelenting horror faced by African migrants trapped in Libya. It's an altogether different thing to hear it unfiltered in their own words. This is the Al Nasser camp on the outskirts of Tripoli. Fatima left Nigeria over 2 years ago with 3 of her sisters, hoping to reach safety in Europe. But their journey of hope soon became an unending nightmare of beatings, slavery and rape. 2 of her younger sisters didn't survive.
I was raped with my sisters. I lost my 2 sisters. We met some policemen, they bring us down. After they bring us down, they took out the ladies among us. That is when they start raping us. They raped us, even my sisters too. We were mercilessly raped by an Arab man. That is where we are sold. That's where the journey began. We have no choice, we have nobody.
Fatima says she was forced to have the child from her rape, but the baby died on the journey to Libya.
I'm young. No one to help us. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through a lot.
Her younger sister, Sirakiba, told us about how they nearly died trying to reach Italy, only to be sent back.
We spent like 3 days in the sea, even though our boat wanted to capsize. All of us, we almost died. But glory be to God, we saw a rescue zone from Italy. We thought they were going to take us to Italy, but they returned us back to Libya.
Aid agencies and the UN have expressed grave concern about conditions at Al Nasser camp. Here, a Libyan guard can be seen fighting with one of the African migrants. The guard walks off. Moments later, there's panic, and the guard returns, brandishing a gun and making threatening gestures. Libya is effectively a failed state in the midst of a civil war between rival factions, with extremists from so-called Islamic State also active in the conflict. Abdurrahman, who's from South Sudan, is frightened to leave the camp, saying African migrants are easy prey to be forced into fighting on the front lines.
If the war is starting, they will come using you. They will using you. If you left, they will kill you. This place is not a safe place.
Jonathan from Eritrea left his wife and 2 children in Sudan. He hasn't heard about their fate for 2 years.
We are survivors, we are victims of wars. We are also used as politicals. The world will not be silent. We have to be evacuated for Europe or for the other countries, for safe countries.
The testimonies from Al Nasser camp are just a snapshot of the violence, enforced slavery and abuse suffered by tens of thousands of African migrants trapped in torment and limbo in detention centres in Libya. Rageh, Omaar, News at 10.
Well, the holding camps in Libya are full of people living similar nightmares to those we've just heard about. But the dangers don't end with the overland journey to the camps. We also hear nearly every week about migrants being rescued when their unseaworthy boats capsize, and not all of them make it.
Out at sea, there is one part of the failing state of Libya which is working. The Libyan Coast Guard is well-resourced and well-trained, courtesy of the governments of Europe. Speeding across the blue expanse of the southern Mediterranean, they spot a small wooden boat, heavy with a wretched cargo. Their voyage is over. The Coast Guard is here to take them back to Libya. This man from Sudan says he wants to get to Europe any way he can, but he won't try this way again. By nightfall, the men are back on the dock in Tripoli. The EU says operations like this are cracking down on people smuggling and saving lives. But it also sends people straight back to the detention centres.
All it is, it's an offshoring of suffering. It's a complete abdication of European government responsibilities towards vulnerable people who are fleeing conflict, environmental degradation and other desperate circumstances.
This year, 550 people have died trying to get to Europe by crossing the Mediterranean. 41 of them while making the eastern crossing from Turkey to Greece and Cyprus. 166 have died travelling from North Africa to Spain, but by far the largest number of fatalities has come on the busy and dangerous route between Libya and Italy and Malta.
What is lacking in this debate and in our politics is the energy of shame.
The minister responsible for the UK's aid policy was making his pitch to be Prime Minister this afternoon.
Mr Stewart, you talked about the energy of shame. I wonder, do you feel a sense of shame when you look upon the terrible conditions in the migrant detention centres in Libya, and do you feel a sense of shame when you receive reports in your department of the hundreds and hundreds of migrants who are still drowning in the Mediterranean?
Well, I think anybody who's seen those camps cannot help but feel that. Yes, I feel deep shame, but at the same time, I'm not sure that there is some easy solution to this.
Off the Greek island of Lesbos, 2 children were among a group of 7 who drowned just last night. It is a journey which so often ends in death or detention, but thousands and thousands still set out. Geraint Vincent, News at 10.
And Rageh joins me now to talk about these camps. I mean, they have persisted for years now, even though money's gone into Nigeria to try to prevent the trafficking in the first place. What is the future of these detention centres?
I think the political problem, and you've been to Nigeria, you've seen this issue of modern-day slavery yourself, and we've reported extensively from Libya and many other sort of areas around the Mediterranean. We, as a country, and the rest of the European nations, our priority is the, cessation of extremism and the spread of Islamist ideology. And within that gap has fallen this deep tragedy of the African migrants trying to sort of, make their way. It was on the headlines, day after day after day on this, but we've spoken about it many times over the years, but it's just fallen off the wayside. And they are, as I said in my report, caught in this limbo between our priorities in ending sort of extremism, but taking our eye off the ball in terms of the tens of thousands of people stuck in this sort of limbo with horrendous sort of stories of slavery, prostitution, rape, and much worse things.
Rageh, thank you very much indeed for that.